Man, I love this place. The problem is we don't take the time to experience all that it has to offer.
So if I land in the water, does this thing float?
Taste that varietal characteristic in the coffee.
Oh yeah.
My name is Noah. Come with me and let's explore a little bit of my hometown of San Diego. I think the greatest part about what I do is no matter where I go, I always seem to find out something really cool about the area I visit. At the same time, I get to meet some of the nicest people around. Well, in this episode, that couldn't ring more true. It's about the great little area of El Cajon. In the mid-1800s, a huge market for grain developed. Wheat in particular. California-grown wheat was known to resist mildew during the long sea voyages. So a dual market developed, one for the wheat and one for the fertile flat land upon which to grow it. The perfect spot to do just that was Rancho El Cajon. Recognizing Rancho El Cajon's potential, a gentleman by the name of Isaac Lankershim ventured south from San Francisco and attempted to buy out and claim the entire area. Well, unfortunately for Lankershim, El Cajon was already home to several small farms and ranchers who regarded themselves as homesteaders and considered their claims to be as legal as Lankershim's. Well, no matter who was right, from that point on, the El Cajon Valley would never be the same. I wanted to find out more about the area, so I headed over to the oldest building in town, which is called the Knox House Museum, and home to the El Cajon Historical Society. Inside, I met the director of the society, Rick Hall.
Welcome, Noah, to the Knox House Museum.
Thank you.
This building was moved here in 1973. It had moved around the valley at certain points. Some of the furnishings in the building were actually donated by some of the early settler families. Also, one of the things we tried to create when we remodeled this Knox House in 1994 was that you would step out of the year 2009 and into about 1900s.
Wow.
This was the first commercial building in El Cajon, built in 1876.
Okay.
And it became the first post office in El Cajon in 1878, right here in the lobby or the parlor that we're standing in right now.
Okay.
Mr. Knox also became the first postmaster to about 90 people at that time.
You'll notice as you walk through the house, every room is detailed and decorated perfectly in the 1930s era. All this is through the efforts of many people, but the head curator for the past 15 years has been Eldana Lay, who told me more about the area.
Life out here was very, very quiet. People hadn't been allowed to move into the valley, which doesn't mean they hadn't done it anyway. Some squatters had come in, and there were a few farmers, but there was no organization to it. And so it was kind of a land grab, and before that time it had been a collection of mission lands. And so those lands were sold off. And Mr. Lankershim bought a huge area of the valley.
Eldana is definitely one for detail. She showed me how they stocked the kitchen with old-time products, including some local Harbison honey.
We have this little pot of Harbison's honey.
Okay.
And Harbison brought honeybees to San Diego. They had bees, they just didn't have honeybees. And so he had a very good business back east, but he packed up these bees and he crossed the Panama Isthmus. He walked it, and can you imagine how ticked off those bees were by the time they got over to the Pacific Ocean? At any rate, then they took another ship on up to San Diego, and he inaugurated his business in the county. And at one time, the bees that he brought multiplied so much that honey was California's largest product.
Eldana and Rick were like walking encyclopedias, tons of information. Take a step into El Cajon's past and stop on into the Knox House Museum. It's a pretty neat place. I live at the beach, so being out east in El Cajon, I kind of feel like I'm in the Old West. I don't know why, because it's nothing like the Old West, but one thing you'll find in El Cajon that you won't find at the beach is a shooting range. Now, I've never shot before, so I thought I'd head on over to the P2K range to check it out. Inside, I met Susan Sledge, who welcomed me.
Hi, how are you, Susan?
Good, how are you doing, Noah?
Good.
Welcome to P2K Range. We're the largest shooting facility on the West Coast. We have rifle shooting up to 100 yards. We have pistol shooting, shotgun, and archery.
Really? Okay, for a guy like me that I've never shot before, I can just come here and you guys show me, teach me what?
We'll teach you. We have range officers on staff that will assist you the entire time.
Do you shoot?
Yes, I do. Want to go check it out?
Absolutely.
All right, let's go.
As Susan said, at P2K, they'll teach you everything. First, we sat down for a little instruction on shotguns and handguns. And of course, eyewear and earplugs. I never knew there was a special way to put in earplugs. Next, it was time to head outside and shoot something. But first, let me tell you a little about Susan. She burst onto the shooting scene at the ripe old age of 18 when she earned a bronze in the Junior Women's International Trap Shooting at the World Shotgun Championships in Lonato, Italy. Pretty cool.
I've been shooting since I was about 12 years old, so for about 10 years now.
Really? You've been coming here?
Been coming here.
Wow.
First place I've ever shot.
Really? So where has that led you?
Well, right now I'm shooting international trap, so I just made the world team for USA shooting.
No kidding.
Yeah.
So you travel around and compete?
That's right. Travel all over.
Do you love it?
Yes, I do.
It's good. You should stick with it. I think you have a future. Trap shooting is taking aim at these little clay saucers that are slung out at your command. Not so easy. But again, with a few instructions from Susan, I was ready.
So number one rule is always keep the gun pointed down range.
Okay.
So you're gonna put that here, press that button. Now it's ready to go. Okay.
Just like that, huh?
Pull
So
there.
this thing's loaded and ready to go.
Yep, now call pull when you're ready.
Can they hear me when I call pull? I'm nervous. Pull. Nice!
Awesome.
Yeah! The new sheriff in town. Pull. I hit that thing! Yeah! As you can tell, I was beginning to feel a little confident, and now it was time to challenge. All right, let's see what you got. I don't know if you know, but I was 3 for 3 on that one.
3 for 3. Oh. Aw.
So how long have you been doing this?
5 years. I won't make excuses.
Okay, so what you need to do is just stay focused when that it comes up. Just watch it. Don't get too anxious, and then go in for the kill. Go ahead. Now, don't let me kid you. Susan only missed one all day. That was good. That was good. You're a little hesitant, but just take your time. You're doing good. I want to see one more. Let's watch. In fact, after I took my shot, she'd shoot the fragments that were left over. Oh, you shot that little one. She's very good. Next, we headed inside to try our hand at a different kind of shooting. First was a handgun called a Beretta. Again, Susan was really good. With every shot, my respect for handguns grew immensely. They are definitely nothing to play with. So does this go in this way?
Yep. Slide
And
it
I
in
just
front
slap
click.
it? Can I slap it like they do in the movies?
You can if you want to.
All right, cool. And then what?
Now you're
Oh, I
going
see
to
a
make sure
bullet
it's
right
pointed
there.
down range.
Okay.
Okay, now with your right, pull the slide back. Okay, now let it go. Ready to go.
Whoa. Wow. Forget all of this. Let's not pay attention to anything but that little bad boy right there, all right? That's a good shot right there. There's nothing worse than a bragger, right? Next, we shot this rifle called the California Legal Air 15. Again, lots of power and pretty intense. Depending on what your preference is, or maybe you're a first-time shooter like myself, the P2K range has a great pro shop stocked with a ton of options that you can choose from, and they'd be glad to help you with any questions you may have. Before I left, I headed outside to work the trap machine while Susan shot. Then I picked up some shells and swept a bit. There's lots to do on the range. If you've ever wanted to try your hand at a little trap shooting, or even some target practice, take aim at the P2K range. It's a really fun time. One thing I noticed while hanging out in El Cajon is that the area is all about family. Well, back in 1980, longtime El Cajon residents Paul and Cheryl Russell decided to entertain some of those families. through theater.
We did a show at the top of Mount Helix. It was The Sound of Music, and it was a terrible show. It was awful. I mean, we had lights clamped onto sawhorses, and it looked like a horror flick, but people loved it.
Loved it is right. The Russells launched their theater production company called Christian Community Theater, or CCT, which was only the beginning.
Some of the parents said, "Could you do something for our kids?" And so we thought, and the next year we started classes for kids in the East County, and it just caught on.
The Russells rented out a little church where they taught theater classes and put on a show. And out of their garage, they built sets, assembled costumes, and took care of administrative duties.
And while I was out on the driveway building sets, Cheryl was in the box office with the laundry going and 3 little kids wrapped around her feet doing the box office. So yeah, in fact, I remember one morning there was a line of Girl Scout leaders on our driveway backed up, and Cheryl was still in her pajamas because they wanted to get tickets to see the show.
At that point, Christian Youth Theater was born, or CYT as it's called, and things began to explode. Going from 20 kids participating in classes and productions the first year to today, CYT is spread out over 15 states and over 15,000 kids starring in some amazing productions such as Annie, Beauty and the Beast, and Bridge to Terabithia. I dropped in on a production of Peter Pan where I saw Captain Hook and Peter rehearsing their fight scene. It was pretty cool. These kids are very dedicated and they work real hard. While I was hanging out, they hooked me up to the flying rig used to fly Peter around the stage. It was great. For a few moments there, I almost felt like I was in Neverland. Almost. At CYT, everyone gets involved, including the parents. It's a pretty big deal. And as far as building sets in the garage, well, those days are history. Now, CYT has a 20,000 square foot facility where they build everything they need. Need a tree? They got it. A log? Got it. And costumes? They have costumes. Anything you need. Seriously. The neat thing about CYT is it's still a family affair. Paul and Cheryl's kids, Janie and Travis, are part of the business too.
We have classes, variety of voice classes, dance classes, specialty classes, acting classes, behind the scenes, all of that we offer. And we've got great teachers, and it's 2-hour classes, and they go 1 day a week.
When you make the show starts to take off. You guys make all your own sets, everything?
Yeah, we do everything in-house pretty much. We build all our own sets, all our own costumes. We manage the website, do our posters, all of our marketing, our photo shoots. We have a green screen in the back where the kids come in and get in costume and take photos and try and do professional quality stuff for them. We want to get
All this out of your garage.
Right.
Crazy, isn't it?
Crazy. Did you ever imagine?
Never. I think if I did, we would have never done it.
You would have
know,
stopped.
It would have been too scary. Yeah. But when it grows slowly, then you see the results of these lives of the kids. It's so worth it. It's so exciting.
And it's pretty cool that we grew up doing it. You know, it was our playground. It was what we did after school. And so now coming back and directing and teaching and working for it, it's so rewarding because, you know, we were there in that class, you know, living it. So now coming back on the other side is pretty cool.
Pretty cool is right. A great family doing a great thing for the kids today. For more information, go to cyt.org. Little did I know El Cajon was so artsy. From the CYT headquarters, I headed down the road a bit to meet world-famous artist Bob Berry. Now maybe you've never heard of Bob Berry. Well, in the world of carving, everyone knows Bob. Inside his beautiful home, Bob explained how he got his start as a carver, which really started out as a taxidermist, until that got a little old.
It was repetitive, same thing every day, and it didn't make my creative juices flow. And at that time, there was a guy that came in and I mounted birds for him for his reference for his ducks. And he was a carver. And he said, "I think you can do this, Bob." And he gave me a piece of wood. And I carved it. I carved a bufflehead duck and sent it to a show in Davenport, Iowa, and I won a blue ribbon.
No way.
Yeah.
Had you ever carved before that?
No.
From there, let's just say Bob found his niche. He began to carve one incredible bird after another, and taking blue ribbons whenever he entered.
So you did everything in this case?
Yeah, I did all these carvings.
Wow.
This one was my first World Championship piece. 1985, they held the first World Championships for fish carving.
Really?
And I took this and I won.
No kidding.
I carved the shell and the ornate butterfly fish and all the coral.
Everything in here is wood?
Yes.
How about this one right here?
Well, I won again in 2003 with this particular fish.
What is that, a Garibaldi?
It's a Garibaldi.
Okay.
And they're protected. I don't have one, but I carved one and really accurate as I could. And I simplified the base a little on this one and design-wise, and it just had everything good about it.
Did I mention ribbons? Bob's won a few of them. Next, Bob's wife Kim told me how he's made a few other items in the house.
I don't know if he's told you this, but he has done everything in this house. He did the paneling, he's carved the fish, he made the quiver, he made the headrest when he was like 12 years old. He made the frames, painted the paintings, made the table, the chair, the desk, the chairs, the shelf, everything.
Did you do the dining chairs?
He did the dining room chairs, and he did this for my birthday, this chair over here.
Oh my gosh.
And
done it all.
he's just done everything.
The man definitely has talent.
This is my very favorite piece.
Okay.
And the reason being is the first time I met Bob, he was showing me around the house and he showed me these.
Okay.
And he said, one of these is real and one of these is carved out of wood.
Really? One of these is wood.
And that was it. I was in love.
Oh my gosh.
Can you tell which one?
Okay, let me guess. You know, it's hard to tell.
It's almost impossible.
I'm just
and
gonna
now that I'm
guess.
married, I know the inside secret. So
I'm just gonna guess that one's wood?
yes, it is.
Is it?
And you can tell because the real one is cool to the touch.
Oh yeah.
Well, I wanted to learn from the best, so Bob and I sat down at his carving table where he gave me a few pointers.
Okay.
And use your thumb, yeah.
Oh, okay.
So you can carve it off. Take as little or as much as you like. You can cut a cross grain.
Oh, cross grain.
Watch yourself. Now you can carve pointing at you too. You can carve like this, but I
Okay.
wouldn't do it like that. I'd put my thumb down
Okay.
and then you can carve.
Might leave here with 4 fingers.
Yeah. Well, actually, the cuts from these knives are like a razor blade cut. You just squeeze it real tight,
Okay.
and it'll close up and stop bleeding.
Oh, okay. I'll remember that.
Well, that's a square block, and you'll get it round there in about 4 days.
I think that might even give me too much credit.
Actually, I began to move at a pretty good clip, and before I knew, I had a nice little duck head. Bob's a pretty good teacher.
So how long does something like this take you?
I've got 2 days in that so far.
And that starts from a big block?
Yeah.
Really?
And in fact, here's the next one. See?
Oh, wow.
This one came out of this block right here.
Oh, okay.
I'm gonna do the female
Okay. Well,
to match this.
So if I call you up and I want you to do a duck for me, I want a spoonbill. Can you do that for me?
Oh yeah, right.
That's what you
That's what I do.
I had a great time hanging out with Bob and Kim. Good people. I learned a bunch, and before I left, Bob gave me one of his special carvings. How cool is that? From the Berry household, I went across town to visit the pride of El Cajon and see another form of art at its best, at the Taylor Guitar Factory. Inside, I was stoked to meet Taylor Guitar founder Bob Taylor, who told me how it all started.
Well, I made my first guitar when I was 17 years old.
Really?
In 11th grade in high school. Right?
No kidding.
Madison High School, right here in San Diego.
Okay.
And when I was a senior, I made 2 more guitars. And it was right during that time I thought, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this. Like, that's a scary thought. How are you going to do that? And I found a little job at a little shop in Lemon Grove called the American Dream. I got a job there working on guitars. And with one of the fellows that works there. There was actually 2 of us to start, but so there were 3 of us that started, and I was 19 years old when we started this company.
I think that's one of my favorite things ever, is to hear a story about someone going after their dream. That's the story of Bob Taylor. He built his first guitar in hopes of selling it to postpone getting a real job. And today, it's turned into this.
Now we make 340 guitars a day, 80,000 guitars a year. I think we're approaching having made 1 million guitars.
No kidding. How many employees?
Well, we have about 325 here in El Cajon, and we have a nice little factory in Tecate, Mexico too, with about 170 people there.
Wow.
Yeah.
Did you ever think it would get as big as it is?
No. I mean, who would ever think that? You know, in the beginning it's like, hey, let's make guitars, let's find some dealers, but our brand has grown, the guitars are good quality, people like them, and it's just really grown. We've been very fortunate.
What's your favorite thing about doing what you do?
Machines,
Really?
smell of wood, making stuff, playing guitars when it's all done. I mean, this thing took guitars and making stuff. I made stuff when I was a kid. I made everything I owned,
Really?
you know, and I was a total wood shop, metal shop nerd, that whole thing. So it just combines everything. I like making stuff, and gosh, I mean, who doesn't want a factory? I love them.
I love them too. I want my own factory. As we walked around Bob's factory, I noticed this amazing laser machine cutting out guitar faces.
Well, we live in this really great, it's a golden age of small manufacturing. This place might look big, but it's small, you know? And if you think about how a digital camera in Photoshop has changed a regular person's life, or how home video has changed people, that same revolution of the personal computer and all the things that it can do for you has changed manufacturing. And so people started saying, hey, we could use a computer to drive a little laser and find a market for it. So these machines became available, and we are always looking for the latest thing. And we started that using lasers, I don't know, 15 years ago, with small little things that would barely even function, you know, doing little tiny jobs. But the machines got better, and we exploit the capabilities, and it's crazy to watch, isn't it?
So cool, man.
It really is cool. I mean, when you think we used to do that with a pencil and a bandsaw and a router and noisy Neanderthal machines, and now it's just like, oh, how elegant.
This place runs like a well-oiled machine. It's pretty cool to see. In fact, if you'd like to check it out and go behind the scenes, Taylor Guitar gives factory tours every week. Over the years, Bob's guitars have become pretty popular in the professional world, which includes some very big names.
Okay, if you're my age, you're gonna remember Neil Young, right? I got to tell you, he's the first guy that ever played our guitars. It's unbelievable.
Really?
John Fogerty from Creedence Clearwater Revival, or Kenny Loggins, people like that. And if you fast forward into, you know, music that's happening now, Jason Mraz, Jewel, you know, the Taylor Swift guitar. We're just releasing a little, our baby Taylor in a Taylor Swift model, and it's going to blow up. We've been working with Taylor since she was 12 years old, and she's a great friend, and it's exciting to see her career just do what it's done. And you know, we sort of helped her out, and now she's helping us out. Isn't it something?
So cool.
Yeah.
You know everybody. You know, I see everybody playing Taylors. Who on your phone right now could you call right now? Give me one big name you could pick up and call right now.
Oh, jeez. I don't know.
Could you call Taylor Swift right now if you
I
wanted
could
to?
call, yeah.
That's cool. That's cool, man. I love that. I wish that was you.
Doesn't that thing sound good?
Bob has got to be one of the nicest guys you'd ever meet. Next, we sat down for a little jam session.
I mean, you make all this stuff with machines.
Amazing.
And people that really know what they're doing, and when you're done, you get to play them. It's like being a cook, you know?
That's right.
Definitely a man with passion for what he does. I love it. Before we left, I hung out in the gift shop. My dad tested out a few guitars, and Bob signed a t-shirt for me. My time at Taylor Guitar was awesome, much like my time in El Cajon. Some call this area the Valley, or the Box. If you live at the beach, you call it way out east. But whatever the case is, I think El Cajon is a great part of San Diego.
Where the sky lifts up beyond the open road.